Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Adi if you're new here, and if you're not new then welcome back to my channel. So as you can tell by today's title, I want to share my wisdom teeth removal experience because when I was trying to do my research on it, I really couldn't find any videos that were like informative. For the most part, they were just like scaring me even more and making me more anxious. And so I just want to make this video to be more of like a talk, a very casual talk about the surgery process. A little side note, I personally don't have healthcare insurance here in the US, so everything that I'm going to be talking about and everything that I experienced was, as far as like my surgery, everything was, and I went to a dentist in Mexico. So that is just a little disclaimer that I want to put out there. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and get started with the very first thing. The question being, should I do it or not? I went to two different dentists and they both told me that my teeth, or my wisdom teeth, were coming out this way instead of this way, and that's what was causing like pressure and like headaches and stuff like that. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys exactly what I felt 2 weeks prior to the surgery. So the first thing was pressure on my T-zone, which is this. It was like a constant headache from morning to night, every single day. I had a headache, it was bothering me. I came sort of like immune to it, but it was still there, if that makes sense. Also, my gums were hurting, and I had recently gotten a job done on one of my tooths over here, and I thought that it was because of that, but it didn't make sense because like all my gums were like in pain. And like I said, that pain went on for 2 weeks. The first week I was trying to figure out like what exactly it was, or why I was having a headache, or if I was stressed out. Like I was literally so confused. And then the second week I was like, you know what? I told my parents like what was happening, and they decided to make an appointment with the dentist again in Mexico, so I could get checked out. And then also for those 2 weeks I was not able to eat. Of course I would eat like anything, just about anything, but I couldn't eat it comfortably. Like it was painful all the time. I'm very thankful that my parents were able to like afford that surgery because it is a little bit expensive. Even though we went to Mexico for a cheaper price, I couldn't even imagine getting it here in the US, which is kind of sad, but that's reality. Now moving on to before the surgery. So fun fact, the day before the surgery, I sat my mom down and I was like, look, I need you to just hear me out. I'm just gonna cry and just be there. Like I don't need you to tell me like all these things, you know, like I just want you to be there for me to cry, because I'm the person that I need to cry something out and then I'll be good. Like I'm like, okay, I can do this, you know. So however, the morning of the surgery, like when we were driving there, I still cried because I was still very, very scared and nervous, and I'll tell you guys in a second exactly why I was so scared. Today I'm gonna get my wisdom teeth taken out and I am terrified. It's so early in the morning. So tired, and I've been crying for like all last night and all this morning. So I guess this is a before of my face. I don't know if it's gonna change, honestly. Now moving on to the scariest part of the whole thing for me personally was the anesthesia. So I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that in the US they completely put you down like with anesthesia, and you don't feel anything, but you're still conscious of like what to do and stuff. But where I went and my dentist in Mexico, they basically numb your like area of where it's gonna happen by like putting like shots in your gums, you know, like little pinches. And that to me is the scariest thing ever. I will say that even my dentist like warned me was the last pinch of it all was on the roof of my mouth, and that, oh my gosh, I do not wish that pain against anybody, like, or upon anybody. Like it's so bad, but of course everything was fine. Now I'm moving on to the actual surgery itself. This part is a little bit scary in my opinion, but I feel like I need to share so that if you are going to get the surgery, you're prepared on like what exactly is coming, because I know I didn't know anything about what was going to happen. So Personally, I felt like I could feel everything that she was doing, but of course it wasn't painful. But I remember 3 big steps, and the first one is the cutting. So I could feel like a little mini saw. I don't know exactly what it is, but it was like zzz, 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 like it was cutting my gums basically. And then the second thing was my dentist even told me like, okay, you're gonna feel pressure and then a pull. And so I would feel like pressure and then she would pull, and I could hear like a crack, which is like my tooth, and it was scary, traumatizing, but again, it didn't hurt. It was just like, whoa, you know, like it was a little scary moment. And the last thing, step number 3, was the sewing part. So they do like sew you, I feel like, or like close it down, you know? Is that how you say it? But yeah, I could literally feel like the hilo or the string coming out, you know, like she would pinch, knot, and like pull, and then, you know, I could feel that. And that was like 1 for 1 tooth, you know. Oh, I forgot to mention, but I should have said this at the beginning of the video, but I personally got 3 of my wisdom teeth out. The 4th one, which is on this side, I got a tooth pulled out like years back, and so that molar was able to like fully come out, and it's fine, hopefully. I got 1 taken out here and 2 here. After the surgery, when I was able to see my mom, I was crying again because I was like so scared, and like, I don't know, I guess just like my nerves got to me and I was just like, oh my gosh, did that just really happen? Like I was just traumada, you know, like so scared. But of course everything was fine. Like even my dentist was like, why are you crying? Like it's good, you're good. Like everything went well. I was just like terrified that that had just happened, that I felt everything, that I was conscious of like what everything was going on in my mouth, you know? So that's what happened during the surgery. That was literally it. It was so quick, 20 minutes, 30 tops. And yeah, that was literally it. So now moving on to post-surgery, aka the recovery process, aka how to survive. So I have 2 things to say. So the first one is what exactly my dentist recommended me, and the second thing is what I found on the internet, or what I found that was very helpful for me personally. But again, huge disclaimer, I'm not a professional. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what I did, what worked for me, and again, everybody works differently. So I'm just telling you what I did. So yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys what my dentist told me. I was only allowed to keep my gauze, like biting down on it, for 15 minutes after the surgery, and after that I was able to toss them. And then I was not able to eat greasy or spicy food for the first 3 days or 72 hours. And then dairy, you have to wait 24 hours, which is a day, for you to eat dairy. I wasn't allowed to rinse my mouth for the first 24 hours because the wounds are like very, very sensitive. And if you like do a lot of like motion and like force, like they could open up, you know? Same thing with brushing my teeth. I was not allowed to brush my teeth for the first 24 hours. Again, because that toothbrush can really like do something scary, and I didn't want to deal with that. And then after those 24 hours, you are able to brush your teeth very, very softly, or like with soft strokes. And it could be every time after you eat, or just twice, whatever you want. And then one last thing from my dentist was to apply ice if you're swollen, and if you're in pain, then apply heat. So luckily my meds were like taking one for the team, and just like pulling through because of my meds I didn't feel any pain, and thankfully, thank God, everything went well and I still don't feel any pain, which is really good. And then moving on to my own recommendations. So sleep as much as you can. Luckily it lined up pretty well that I was able to do my surgery the week of spring break, and so I wasn't worrying about school or work or missing anything, you know. I would just sleep, or at least like lay down, you know, not necessarily like fall asleep, but like lay down, rest, ice, or apply heat, whatever. Now moving on to the rinsing. So I rinsed my mouth every single time I ate, or after I ate, and it was with lukewarm water and a little bit of salt, and I would just mix it, let it dissolve, and then I would like take a small sip and kind of like move my head in a circular motion. I wasn't like actually like, you know, like rinsing, because that force could like do something. And then as far as like to spitting it out, I wasn't spitting it out, I was just like letting it drop out, I guess, or like fall, you know, like the water. It wasn't hard at all. for the first 3 days, I was not allowed, or not allowed, but I wasn't able to eat much. And I think the worst part about this whole like the post-surgery process is that you're not able to eat. At least me personally, like I couldn't eat, and it wasn't because I was in pain. It was because my cheeks on the inside were very swollen that I wasn't able to like fully bite down, and of course I couldn't just like swallow food, you know. So basically for the first few days I survived on crushed bananas, jello, ice cream, and milkshakes, or like oatmeal if I had any, but I didn't have any at the moment. So yeah, that's basically what I ate. And of course, it, for me at least, it sucked. I was like hungry all the time, even though I had just eaten a bowl of jello. Like it doesn't fill you up. So I personally was super hungry, like starving, and just like so sad because I was so hungry. But after that I started to eat a little bit more, like slowly, and up until the point where I was like, okay, I'm able to eat, you know. Today is Friday. It's almost 2 weeks since I got my surgery. Also, one last thing about like your medications. My dentist recommended me for me to keep taking my medications all the way until the end, rather than just like, oh, I feel better today, I'm gonna stop taking them. Like no, like keep taking them, stick to the schedule until you finish them completely. And that's what I did. I barely finished my medicine 2 days ago on Wednesday. And so I was on meds for a week and a half, and it was fine. You know, I feel totally fine. Thank God that, again, I feel fine. Everything went well. I don't feel pain. I feel so good. I feel back to normal. And again, I'm so thankful to God and to my parents for doing this for me and for being there for me. And, you know, just like, I'm good. You know, I'm back. I'm good. I believe that's everything that I wanted to say. I had a little notebook with like things to say. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you're just watching because you're bored, thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.